Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome back to Dastane Geeky. Today, Master Saab has chosen a topic for us. Even I am unaware. Master Saab, tell us.
Today we are gonna be discussing evil, but not just any evil.
The Evil Dead?
Evil masters, but not really. Not my opposite. Not really.
We're
gonna discuss
the masters of the other dimensions which turned evil for some incident that happened in their
we
life.
all have an evil side somewhere. But here is the thing. Chele. Minions. Henchmen. Mooks. That's what we're discussing today. So, what snake men are to Conan's Thulsa Doom. What stormtroopers are to Darth Vader.
What orcs are to Sauron.
What APMSO is to MQ. Alright, so now.
what Yuthias are to Imran Khan.
What the burgers are to PTI, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. So I'm gonna first tell you what exactly it is. What is a henchman? What is a chela? What is a minion?
Okay.
Take it, and then we're gonna take it from there.
Sure, go for it.
So this is what a henchman or a minion or a chela or a mook is. They are the expendable cannon fodder, the cronies of the bad guy leader, the overlord, the master.
Is henchman a word used? Like, can we describe Igor as a henchman?
Yes, I'm coming to that. So now, if henchmen are the expendable cronies, in their own right, some of them come off as very distinct individuals as well, and there is a tendency for them to become distinct, important, and even go up in ranks. This was more evident from the cartoons, Saturday morning cartoons, and since you can't die anymore, they started becoming more distinct. Like all of Skeletor's henchmen.
Democracy in the evil world, in which you perform well and you will someday take over the Overlord's position.
You'll get a name. You know? I mean, look at all these. Look at G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
They have scores and scores of Cobra Troopers, right? They call Cobra Troopers?
I think so, yeah.
Whatever they're called, right? But then they have a whole bunch of other henchmen. I'm not just talking about second in command. I'm talking about henchmen.
Like people, you don't know their names, but they're just like in the background.
Those are Cobra Troopers.
Those are troopers, yeah.
But then you also have other henchmen with names, and they are more or less henchmen. Like the Dreadnoughts. Like Zortan has his collection of henchmen, his entourage. They all have individual names.
I get
They're
it.
still cannon fodder, but they'll never die.
Yeah.
You know? So like if you look at Skeletor, I mean, he actually uses these words. My henchmen, or where do I get good help? These lackeys are horrible.
Yeah, if you, I remember in Thundercats, there was Sly, Jackalman, and these were all henchmen, and then they were like soldiers who looked exactly like Sly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Copy pasted.
So these individual named henchmen probably rose up in rank from these minions.
Yeah, true.
Right? If you look at, for example, there's a whole bunch of like snake men at times in Masters of the Universe, right? But he nonetheless has Cobra Khan.
Yeah.
So where did Cobra Khan come from? He's probably one of those nameless minion snake men who rose up in ranks.
Man, the best example that I can think of on the top of my head is from Deep Space Nine. What was his name?
Gul Dukat?
No, his henchman, which was like always a background character.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, he's leading the Cardassian Empire.
What was his name?
Ganar or
yeah, something like that. Well, for people who are not aware, Gul Dukat was a main villain in a Star Trek series called Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Ganar.
Kanar was a drink.
Well, yeah, go on. I'll look him up.
So, now, talking about specific henchmen, right, who are more individualized than anybody else.
Yeah.
Good examples of that would be, as you've already mentioned, Igor. Right? They're literally the, yes, master, whatever you say, master, kind of thing. Even if in the background they're like planning a coup or something, they are more or less henchmen. Right?
Yeah.
Renfield. Renfield to Dracula. Reinfield, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Reinfield.
All right. So that's the popular setup. But now I'm going to tell you something else.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
Henchmen are not necessarily evil.
Ah,
All right.
okay.
An example would be a henchman who follows the orders of the evil master, but he doesn't really want to deep inside. Is a kind-hearted, nice man. Various interpretations of Igor are like that, right? But more than that,
Damar. His name was
Damar.
Damar. Yeah.
but
more than
not
that.
all henchmen, not all henchmen are evil, and not all henchmen follow evil masters.
True. Well, one of my favorite henchmen are the two from Venture Brothers. Monarchs henchmen.
Are the bad guys? I've never seen that. cartoon.
That's the thing. They're not bad guys. They're actual fanboys who
Oh.
get to wear costumes and work for an evil man. And then one of them lives with a mother, the other lives with a
nice.
grandmother. And
But give me an example of henchmen who are good and their master is also good.
henchman who is good and their master is also good.
Or lackeys who are good. Shall I give you an example?
Yeah, batao.
Robin Hood and his merry men.
Oh, yes, true. Interesting.
King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table.
They're not henchmen. They can't-
Lancelot isn't,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then you have Percival, Gawain, and all that. Those names are just splattered like that unless you have a specific poem or a novel focusing on them.
Galahad.
They are literally background fodder in most movies,
But Galahad is
right? But
pretty-
if you pick up a movie,
if it's about Arthur, then
other
yeah.
than Lancelot,
Hmm.
which other henchman is somebody who becomes a prominent character? They're just names that are thrown around there in the background, and we don't even notice when they're not there,
Yeah, yeah.
right? But okay, so now let's look at क्या कहते हैं, faceless drones, right? Faceless minions, most popular being Star Wars,
Yeah,
stormtroopers, right? Now those are like mooks,
yeah.
right? They're literally cannon fodder,
Hmm.
right? Can you think of the good guy equivalent of that?
Cannon fodder. No, which Star Trek?
Red shirts.
Red shirts. Yeah, the security team.
So literally, the red shirts are to the good guys what the stormtroopers are to the evil guys.
True, true. I especially like what they did in episode 7. From the get-go, when the stormtroopers come out and they're attacking that small outpost, and all of a sudden the stormtrooper gets shot, and he touches his wound and he marks his face with a red with blood, so that he instinctually stands out from the rest of the stormtroopers, and then he's not
There
a
are
stormtrooper
various
anymore.
little techniques you can do to start giving a faceless minion
Yeah.
a character. I mean, even if you look at the cartoon Despicable Me, there are like tons of them, but a couple of them are like
Stand out.
stand out, and they become and the various things that happen that make them stand out, right?
Yeah.
One is permanently stuck on the moon, for example, right? Now he's got his own individual role to play now,
Yeah.
right? क्या कहते हैं, The Lion King.
Hmm.
If you look at Scar,
Yeah.
he has an entourage of henchmen, all the hyenas. Now the hyenas are faceless minions, and out of those faceless minions, 4 of them have individual interest, but they're still henchmen.
Interesting. I wonder who came up with this concept, and do you have like any background history? Let's talk about henchmen and overlord in the real world.
That might get controversial.
No, let's not talk about present day, but let's go travel back in time.
Give me an example.
Kublai Khan and his general Hitler being an overlord, Heimlich being his henchman, and the same goes for George Washington, and he has Thomas Edison and whatnot.
You're the
and
better history buff. I wouldn't be able to contribute in that.
So yeah, no, I think life imitating art type का scene है. I've been using this word quite a lot in the past week, ever since I saw Logan. But yeah,
So back to fiction, since I can contribute. James Bond villains.
James Bond.
Each and
villains
every
too.
single one of them has this very detailed team of henchmen, right? The original Bane.
Yeah.
Do you remember the original Bane? We discussed Bane in a Batman episode. He
Yeah,
had these very
he-
specific
true.
4 followers.
True. Which was creating the thing. Yeah, and then he gets all these prisoners outside, breaks them out from Arkham Asylum. So technically Joker, Hitler, Riddler, वगैरह all become his henchmen.
No, they don't. They're individual characters who have their role.
Yeah.
His henchmen are people who are specifically loyal to him and are willing to die for him.
The top 4 cabinet members, you might say,
Yeah.
are the henchmen and the minions.
Yes.
I think minions are what the whole plethora, the
Yeah.
बहुत सारे हो जाते हैं ना.
Yeah. मेरा
Yeah.
भी यही है.
I think there's an order, ठीक है? There's an overlord,
Yep.
and then उसके नीचे henchmen, and then उसके नीचे minions,
Yeah.
and then उसके नीचे
I think minions is the last. Yeah, mooks. I guess mooks would be the actual on-screen cannon fodder minions and even henchmen.
Yeah, like in Lord of the Rings, Sauron, then he had Saruman, and what's his face?
Then you just had the orcs.
And then he had orcs. And then he had minions who were Urukhais. And then he had mooks, which were the goblins.
orcs
The
and
goblins and
right,
the orcs
right.
yeah.
And what's interesting with this one is that minions don't necessarily always have to be loyal to you because they're loyal. They can be loyal out of fear.
They can be loyal to the henchmen.
And they can also be created.
They can also
That's
be created.
what the orcs were. That's what the Urukhai was. That's what the clone troopers are.
Exactly. So I remember playing this game on Xbox. It came out like a few years ago called Overlord, in which you play an Overlord who, because your land was under your control. You were an Overlord. You were like ruling with an iron fist and everything. And all of a sudden, this other Overlord comes in and he takes over your domain. And he defeats you, and you go in a stupor, and basically you come back out of it like a couple of years later, and then you have to create your own kingdom again. And you're totally evil. You go to villages, destroy villages to gain slaves and whatnot, and take over your land.
That's interesting. I also played a video game.
I think this was the video game.
No,
that
I
you
played a different one.
Which one?
I played one called Dungeon Keeper, in which was like this big demon lord, and basically it's like reverse Dungeons and Dragons. So you don't go and explore dungeons here. You make the dungeon, you put your minions and lackeys in it, and then you see what happens when the AI controlled adventures come into your dungeon.
So tell me, Master Saab, in all of these overlords and minions and whatnot, what would be your favorite overlord?
Well, I think I'll take it step by step then. Like in comics, right? My favorite overlord will definitely be Darkseid.
Darkseid.
In the context, Darkseid.
Darkseid is the new god.
Yes. Yeah. In the context that a good example of an overlord who has henchmen and lackeys and mooks in every categories of those and uses them well.
Yeah.
So he has those parademons. He has hunger dogs. Then he has those upper elite granny goodness and all that.
Yeah.
And he's just an excellent example of an overlord.
Most of these parademons and henchmen, our dear listeners will hopefully come across in the new Justice League movie. So
and they might have come across them in some cartoons already.
In cartoons, if they've watched cartoons, yes.
Right. But now a lot of readers might be Marvel fans, and they might go, "Oh no, why not Thanos? Why not Thanos?" I'm not saying Thanos is a bad character, but I'll tell you why not Thanos. He doesn't have henchmen. He doesn't have minions. He's not using them to good use. Fine, in the movies you mentioned he has some of those alien guys, right?
Even, a couple you never see.
But
his
it doesn't
army.
really happen. It's not, those minions and henchmen don't stick through every iteration of him. He's different. But with Darkseid, it's like a given. He has those parademons and he has those hunger dogs.
He rules over the planet,
right?
man.
After that, a more low-level one, but also an excellent example of having a lot of henchmen in comic books. Doctor Doom. Yeah, the Doom bots, and he has all kinds of stuff. In every comic, we find out he has some other kind of soldier. Well, he has a whole country, so
Yeah, just like Magneto, he's got his own henchmen, and then he's got mutants you don't know about.
Moving away from comics, I'll mention an overlord which I know you like, and you probably know more about him. Immortan Joe.
Immortan Joe, no,
from Mad Max.
Oh yeah, true. Valhalla. But so tell me, man, your favorite.
In here.
Let's go to favorites, man. Tell me your favorite one. Dracula.
Yes.
Why?
All right. First of all, obviously, I'm talking more of how he's represented in movies. You have you have the named henchmen. You have
Yeah.
Renfield,
Hmm.
right? But then you have his brides,
Hmm.
right? And then depending on the movie, you have his select cadre of high vampires, and it's just the way he rules over them, right? Sometimes they can't help it. I mean, they're under his control, but they're not really. They have individuality while they're
Yeah.
under his control. And my best examples of how I like Dracula and his henchmen is when they obey him out of fear and no other reason.
But are they obeying him out of fear or just because he's hypnotized them?
No, it depends on the writer, right? But I prefer that interpretation. Like, I'm okay
Like-
with the
like-
hypnotized one.
But no, in every movie, in every Dracula movie, and besides Dracula Untold, he's controlling them through hypnotism.
No. I mean, for example, if you remember the Ford Coppola Dracula
Yeah.
one, right? Renfield, he just wants that power, but deep inside, he has enough control to actually warn Mina Harker, and then he pays the price,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that that he's just been doing it out of fear. This fear of the master, I feel, has a more interesting connotation. You can do cool stuff with that in terms of where the story goes, right?
I'll tell you one of my favorite overlords.
Ah.
Ming the Merciless.
Oh!
Dun 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 dun. Flash.
Man, he like
Ah!
runs the whole galaxy out of fear, man. Oh,
Exactly.
Everybody from the servant that polishes his shoes to that whole planet next door
Dun, dun, dun,
to
dun,
his
dun,
daughter,
dun, dun,
everybody
dun,
just
dun,
obeys
dun,
him
dun,
out
dun.
of fear because he's merciless.
Merciless.
Oh, nice. As far as cosmic, well, yeah, actually, you know what? And this people might say, "Oh my God, blasphemy!" Man, Ming the Merciless is even cooler than the Emperor.
Yeah, man. I mean, imagine. Imagine what would happen if there's like a fight between Ming the Merciless and Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, I would say Ming's legion of followers, which are like whole planets out of fear, various races, everything. Yeah. Ming will. Man, Ming destroys
why-
whole planets with the press of button, and there's not Death Star called you. What
Yeah.
this is he causes natural disasters on
disaster.
planets, man.
When are they making a new?
And he could
movie?
he could be like 5 galaxies away, press a button and cause natural disasters where the Death Star has to get up close proximity. Ming the Merciless rules, man.
When are they making Ming the Merciless? When are they bringing him back again?
I hope soon, man. Ming the Merciless, okay, क्या कहते हैं? Again, cosmic villains. Something we've done movies, something from games. Not many people might be familiar with Warhammer, but the whole concept, and he's not
The
really
Emperor.
a villain.
The
The
Em-
God Emperor.
the God Emperor.
Now, the Space Marines,
Yeah.
right, are actually the good guys, but there are like thousands and thousands and drones of Space Marines who die every day in war because the God Emperor commands it.
True, man. True. And tell me this: what would you think if you go back to? Let's go back to like TV shows, Hercules and Xena. Is Hera an overlord with minions and
Nay.
no?
No. Because everybody there has all the other gods have individual names. They have their own free will. Sometimes they oppose her. Sometimes they don't oppose her.
What about,
But if you're going to fantasy, well, Sauron, as we already mentioned him.
What about Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom?
Oh yeah, every Nazi villain will always have his minions right hand man.
What was his name? Kali Mahashakti.
Oh, so you're talking about Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
Oh,
Prasad something Prasad.
I don't know, man. Thuggy.
Oh man, I forgot his name. That's so bad.
Thuggy.
The Thuggies were in there. Yeah, they were the henchmen.
They were the Thuggies, yeah. Okay, something you have more knowledge of than I have. Voldemort.
No, I do not have much knowledge, but I've seen all the movies.
Oh no, Harry Potter fans will crucify us. I've never read a single book. I'm never going to.
I plan on reading the books because I've heard a lot about them, but I don't know. I think I'm lying to myself.
Aku.
Yeah, Aku. I've never really seen Samurai Jack itna zyada.
I'll tell you what's interesting about Aku. A lot of times you will have somebody you think is an agent of Aku, you suspect is an agent of Aku or a henchman or a minion, and by the end of many episodes, the henchman or the minion themselves were just Aku.
In most of the episodes, there's always a twist. It was always I! Oh man.
Was Aku voiced by the same voice actor who voiced Mojo Jojo? They kind of sounded familiar.
They probably
Similar.
were, because it was the Ek Zamane mein, they used to be the two most popular shows on Cartoon Network.
All right. Doctor Who fans. The Master, right?
Yeah.
Not you, the Master from Doctor Who.
You.
Not me, the Master from Doctor Who, right?
You're just a master sub. You're not the master.
But the Master, he's not a good example, by the way.
But he doesn't have any minions.
Right.
Yeah.
Davros is
Davros
the Daleks'
Dalek.
leader. That's a really cool Overlord with a whole bunch of minions, all different color. Tell me, do those different colors, signify anything with the Daleks, or is just for the heck of it?
Well, man, it signifies a lot. It actually gets them to sell the same toy again and again. How many times would you buy a little salt and pepper shaker unless you keep mass producing them in different colors?
Whoa! I have a red Dalek. Oh,
I have an orange one.
No, man, the blue one is more rare.
Let's make them fight. Pew, 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 pew.
Similar lines, Borg Queen.
But yes, Borg Queen
actually,
also.
Borg Queen is an interesting example, since throughout the earlier episodes of the Next Generation until we got to that movie, the Borg were just a whole
One
bunch of minions
collective.
without a master.
Without a master.
Then they were actually minions and lackeys and henchmen with no master.
Exactly.
Until they revealed in First Contact movie that they always had a master, the Borg Queen. So that's an interesting inversion of play with the whole henchman deal.
But tell me this, man. Do you remember a time in which every Indian movie, be it a romantic movie, be it a comedy movie, would always have an overlord villain with a bunch of henchmen and mooks?
Always, man. Gabbar Singh.
Gabbar Singh is the biggest example. And there was always this, there's this really famous movie, Amitabh Bachchan ki Zanjeer, in which there's a villain with a gold chain and his name is KK.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Right. Not that has any significance to our podcast, but
significance. But he's the big bad baddie of that movie.
What kind of henchman did he? And and this is also very common.
They always have this henchman who
in the first
one day
10-20 minutes. One of the henchmen, one Gunda, would always get killed by the Overlord because he failed or he questioned or something.
Just to make an example out of him.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them are like, oh fuck. But yeah, man. Okay. So I think we're about to end this podcast. So there's this question that popped into my head.
Ask it.
Is Papa Smurf an Overlord?
My God, he is.
He is.
He is, man.
He has a few henchmen, and then there are so many Smurfs जिनके आपको नाम भी नहीं पता.
He's running this like this.
And he has this vixen.
Communist.
He has this vixen of a.
Oh yeah, like in Indian movies, the Overlord always has this one like this chick or something who's like his right hand chick or something.
Yeah.
That's what she is, man.
I remember. Do you remember Toy Fair magazine? There used to be this magazine called Toy Fair.
Yes, there
Toy
was
Fair,
a magazine which published monthly, and it dealt with action figures and the likes.
And toys, and it used to be. So basically, at the end of that magazine, there used to be a comic strip with toys. They used jo bhi robot chicken. So I remember in which there was this episode in which the Avengers meet Smurfs.
No way, I missed that one.
So in those comic strips, the Hulk is always drunk and he's always looking to drink more beer and whatnot. So in one of the episodes, they come across the Smurf town and whatnot. So the herd's like, Hulk wants to pee, Hulk wants to pee. And he goes to the side to pee, and there are like Smurfs all around. And he looks to his right and he sees Smurfette. And he's like, you're the only female Smurf that I have seen. Who do you belong to? And she looks at him and she says, for $10 I belong to Hulk. And those were funny comics. I think we should have like an episode based on those comic strips. Those are really hilarious. And well, yeah. So kids, go get your own copy of the Toy Fair magazine and evaluate and
go to school and like bully around a couple of people, make them your followers, make your own henchmen.
And share this podcast and spread the love around.
Yeah, the more minions that listen to us, the more minions we'll have.
Yeah, but do you think, are you the Overlord here, or or am I the overlord here?
We'll let our listeners decide.
With that, goodbye.